Hello there. In October of 1993, a group of cave explorers and speleologists, or cave scientists, entered into a cave system known as the Lamalunga Karst. Now, karst is a specific type of terrain that's characterized by barren rocky ground interspersed with caves and sinkholes and lacking the surface appearance of rivers or lakes. This is because karst landscapes are normally formed up of limestone, an extremely soluble mineral. And because of this, though like I said, karst landscapes often don't have lots of lakes or water at the surface, it's also characterized by lots of underground water that channels and eats and wears away at the limestone to make these caves and these sinkholes and these underground structures. And Lamalunga Karst cave system that these cave explorers were entering in October of 1993 is sort of your classic karst cave. There are stalactites and stalagmites everywhere, as well as other different limestone formations, such as the famous cave popcorn that you're seeing here, all tying in nicely to what we know of that water and karst effect, and all hinting at the fact too that this cave system, the Lamalunga Cave System, like most karstic cave systems, has many different chambers and nooks and niches. And when these explorers in 1993 were puttering around in there, they opened up a new passageway that was completely unknown to them before. Specifically, they removed a column that had been blocking a pathway to a different area of the cave they'd never been able to get to. And it turns out that no one had been able to get to for a really, really long time. But they were not the first people ever in all of history to go into this part of the cave either. And this smaller chunk, actually, of the Lamalunga Cave System would soon get a very distinctive name, being later referred to by researchers as the so-called, quote, apse of the man, end quote. And, well, to be honest, it's easy to see why this little area that these cavers had discovered would soon get this name. Because in 1993, as these explorers slowly made their way into this little shaft, shining their lights around them and just seeing what they could see, what they discovered was a set of human remains, but not just any human remains, and not just from regular humans that the cave itself seemed to be slowly devouring. Looking up at them from below, as you can see here, the skull is angled upside down, and there's a little pile of bones and human debris beneath it. But it wasn't just the appearance of these human remains that would prove to be shocking, because these cave explorers would go out and report on their findings, and soon other scientists and people would come in to try to get to the bottom of who this person was that they'd found in this cave. And it turns out that that was both a much harder investigation than it initially appeared, and B, that the person that they'd found there, who the press would soon dub Altamura Man after a local nearby Italian town, had an even more unusual and in some ways tragic backstory than it initially appeared. But we'll get into all that. We'll get into everything we know of Altamura Man and how we think his bones ended up there and what those bones are up to today. But first, may I say, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Lost Bits. I am your host. I am Marie. Welcome to the place where we talk about unusual and mysterious parts of our past together. And I'm so excited to share with you a little bit of the story of Altamura Man. Now, we have a long history of holding a lot of love in our hearts for our ancient Neanderthal friends here in the Lost Realms. And I will spoil a little bit of mystery now, though you may have been able to tell from the lovely cranium I showed you, that our dear friend here, our dear mystery friend, was in fact a Neanderthal. Because we need another Neanderthal episode. We can always use more Neanderthal episodes. We can find some cool knowledge, and this one is a doozy, and it's time! We're gonna get Italian Neanderthal ancient mystery bits. Oh my gosh, it's like the fanciest Neanderthal bits we could possibly have. Now, I think it would be helpful to get more of a lay of the land. Now, you see this sort of map here? It's not really a proper map, but you see the spot at the tip top up there labeled number 1. That's that tiny little apse of the man where our ancient Altamura Man was found. And if you look down at the very bottom, the spot labeled number 5, that's the current entrance to the cave. So you can see the twisty-turny sort of passage it takes just to get to this one little secluded spot. Now, I want to make it clear too, even the section that you're looking at here is not a full image of the whole cave. Now you can see The blue box is the section we've just been looking at, and you can see in the yellow, this is the larger cave system that we know of it anyway, as a whole at this time. This being taken from a report on a scientific study, or rather kind of a wave of scientific studies that took place here from 2016 to 2020. And going back to that image, that original image I showed you of Altamura Man, you can see again, upside down, and the huge amount of growth and buildup that's happened over his bones since he was interred there. And the reason I'm stressing all this again is because I think it's important for us to look at this point, how he ended up in this cave in the first place. Because Altamura Man's bones are not the only bones that have been found in this cave system. In fact, there are hundreds and hundreds of examples of animal bones. But this wasn't a place where humans or animals seem to have been living. Instead, at some point, at least a section of the roof of the cave just wasn't there. And different animals, and at least in one case a person, Altamura Man, seemed to have fallen through one of these openings or holes that may have been covered by brush or leaves or whatever. And then it just became like a death trap, and these animals and this person couldn't get out. And that's actually the running theory. Like I said, it's kind of a tragic backstory for our friend here. They believe that he fell into this cave and got stuck and couldn't get himself out, and eventually, unfortunately, faced an extremely slow death of either starving or dehydration, and just kind of ended up collapsing where he was and where he was stuck. Hence the bones kind of all under and beneath him there. And now I do want to go back to the animal bones that I said were also present in the cave, because some of those do actually show signs of gnawing and stuff. So there was, at least in some areas of the cave, different animal activity, but our human friends' bones don't show any of that. So researchers don't think they were disturbed at all from the time that Altamura Man died until they were found in the present day. And at some point, the opening over this section of the cave just got sealed off by sediment and debris and time. The remains of Altamura Man were just trapped in there. And I do mean trapped very literally. As you can see here in the picture, buildup of minerals in this cave, that cave popcorn I was talking to you about, absolutely cover Altamura Man's bones, all of them. And now they've started to literally be absorbed and become part of the cave itself. And because of all this, I mean, I've been talking casually about the fact that, yes, this is a Neanderthal, but for many years after these bones were first discovered, scientists weren't even sure of that. They were basing it off of basically what the cranium looked like, but Altamura Man is so ingrained into the cave itself that at this point in time, even as I record this in 2025, they do not know how to remove this person's remains safely from this cave without risking just destroying them. So they've been forced to sort of go down multiple times in multiple waves over the years to do different studies to try to learn whatever they can about him. It's expensive and very time-consuming for research to be done like this. It really truly has been sort of consecutive pulses or waves of researchers and human effort. But now, as I record this in 2025, we do know a lot more. Like I said, we have an idea of how he got down there. And one of the first huge waves of researchers that did a ton of work in there from 2009 to 2016 conducted photographic investigation of the area behind the skeleton that physically people just can't get into, identifying in the process bones that appear to have been dislodged from the remainder of the skeleton. And they were able to recover parts of the scapula that they were able to use to actually date and do paleogenetic analysis on Altamura Man for the first time. And so this was actually when they first confirmed that yes, he was a Neanderthal for sure, but also just when he got there. And guys, this is kind of amazing, because by looking at Altamura Man's bones and at the calcite formations that have occurred on these bones, they were able to figure out that Altamura Man probably fell into this cave between 128 to 187,000 years ago. Now, this does not make Altamura Man the oldest Neanderthal fossil of any kind ever found, but I have to say, they've actually been able to sequence Altamura Man's DNA. So our friend has the distinction of having the oldest Neanderthal DNA ever sequenced anywhere. And that's not all. From 2016 to 2020, a whole new wave of research started down in the cave with Altamura Man, because now, again, people are starting to realize, okay, this is a super, not only interesting find, but a really historically valuable one. And as time goes on, more and more researchers are trying to figure out a way to basically get him out of the cave. And during the second wave of research as well, they were also just trying to come up with new ways to study him while he's down there. They used remotely operated camera equipment to once again go into areas further than the human eye could actually easily see, including right into his mouth, as you can see here. Oh my goodness, he looks so fresh right here, doesn't it? Oh wow. I know that's just the moisture in the cave, but oof. But anyway, they were able, due to the second wave of research from 2016 to 2020, to get enough full scans. They even got x-ray equipment down there in the cave, you guys. They went all out, and they actually put together a very workable reconstruction of Altamura Man's head. Look at this. So we can actually get an idea what he looked like. That's very, very cool. And while they were in his mouth there, they also did an in-depth study on his dental sort of layout, as I'm sure you can imagine. And here they made kind of another unfortunate discovery, and that's that our friend here seems to have been in poor health. He even lost 2 teeth by the time that he had died, which was really unusual. Neanderthals in general, I mean, they didn't have access to sugar, really, like we do anyway, no refined sugar. They generally had good oral health. They also discovered he was probably in his early to mid-30s when he died, and which, I mean, I know life expectancy was a little bit different back then, but he wasn't ancient by any means. That is incredibly unfortunate, and actually these newer studies also hint at kind of a deeper mystery for Altamura Man, because now that they've done this facial reconstruction, they've compared that along with the DNA that they've sequenced to those of other Neanderthals from around Europe at this time and in general throughout their history. And they found that our friend, Altamura Man, has characteristics both of the classical Neanderthal population and also of more what they're describing anyway as archaic hominid species. Like I said earlier, Altamura Man lived an incredibly long time ago. Researchers now feel he may be something of a bridge. A bridge between older, more primitive species and the Neanderthals. And it's kind of crazy to think about what the world he would have lived in would look like. I can't even really imagine. I mean, I know it's our world and it would be the same in a lot of ways, but just, I didn't even mention it, but they found hyena bones and stuff in that same cave. Like hyenas in Italy. You know, like that's the world that he was in. And there's still probably so much we can learn from him, but as of right now, like we talked about, he's still stuck in that cave. And there is, I promise you, a lot of very good minds working on trying to get him out of there. And it's actually that element that made me want to share his story with all of you a little bit. And I'm sure you can see why. The first time I read about him, which actually was a couple of years ago, I felt so heartbroken. It was just the idea of him falling in there and being stuck in there and slowly dying alone. And being down there for over 100,000 years, and just, I hated that. It really bugged me. But on the other hand, I think we can all agree that the cave seems to have kept him quite safe down there, even as it's slowly devouring him. I don't know. I guess it's weird. It's sort of an inverse of the Cocknostone episode. If anyone's watched my Cocknostone episode recently, in that one they deliberately buried a priceless artifact and monument to try to keep it safe. And I had very mixed feelings about that. And now, as I record the end of this episode, I admit there's a part of me I'm kind of flip-flops, to be honest. I mean, I know we have so much to learn from him, but there's a part of me that, I don't know. He's already taught us enough, hasn't he? There's a part of me that just wants to let him rest, I guess, is what I'm dancing around. There's a part of me that wants to let old Altie sleep. But, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on all this? Do you think we'll be able to get him out anytime soon? What do you think of what we could learn about other ancient hominid species from him? Literally a 2023 paper on Altamura Man, they describe our friend very bluntly, saying that he's, quote, the remnant of an archaic population, which was probably not in simple continuity with the Neanderthal lineage, end quote. I mean, there's probably a lot to learn there. And either way, I mean, they're not going to ask me, but I'm probably being too sentimental. And who knows, maybe Altie would like to come up and get a little walking around room. Maybe he'd like to see some sunshine for a change. What do I know? I am kind of wondering, though, if they're ever even going to be able to get him out of there. I mean, that's a lot of cave popcorn. I love me some popcorn, but that's a lot of popcorn. I don't know. Let me know what you're thinking. But I am going to stop there for today, guys. And thank you again so much for being here with me for the story of the Altamura Man. And guys, just like always, if you find yourself particularly interested in our topic today, then please don't let my words be the last words you hear on it or on the Neanderthals. You'll find my full source list pinned to the top comment below, just like always, but please don't stop there. And you know, your local library may have an awesome book on Neanderthals or ancient hominins, or you know, they'll definitely have something fun to read. They'll definitely have something fun to read. I'm about to make my weekly trip to the library tomorrow morning. I'm very excited about it. And I'm just gonna go in there. I'm gonna let the feelings take me. I'm gonna let the feelings take me. I'm one of those, because I believe in the power of the library. And you know what else I believe is that you need to get your butt to one. You get to the library. You find something cool. And let me know how you made out. And once you're back from the library, if you'd like to, and you enjoyed what you saw today, then please consider checking out the rest of my channel. You'll find lots more unusual and mysterious tales from our past. I upload new videos every week, and longer deep dive videos once a month. So hopefully you'll find something you like, and I'll see you again soon. But either way, thank you again so much for being here today. Be safe, be happy, go with all my love. Until next time, goodbye.